What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel and to another Overwatch League news video, and we have some big stuff to talk about on this Saturday morning as Jong-un and Stitch have signed with the Washington Justice. This is a great move made by the Justice, and I'm really happy for both their fans and just the organization as a whole because I think adding in two former Runaways / Vancouver Titans players has the potential to help them out tremendously. Both of these guys are very skilled at their specific positions. JJanu, in my opinion, is easily still like a top 5 off-tank in the Overwatch League, and he has been like that since he joined the league last year, and overall he's just a really consistent player who always gives it his best every single game. The Justice have always lacked a hard carry at the tank position who can just step in and protect their teammates and frag out all at the same time, and I think JJanu can help fill up that void. My hope is that guys like Roar and AimGod are going to be able to stay alive more often now because of this. And with Stitch on the other hand, I know some people might not really think of him as anything amazing. He isn't even better than Corey in most people's eyes, but Stitch has always been a pretty solid player. He just never really gets to showcase it all that much, as Su was the one to usually play for Vancouver. This OG hits game player who's been playing since the Apex days has a chance to start full time, and I believe he's going to make the most out of it. During the few occasions where he played here and there throughout the last few years for Vancouver, I really do think he made his presence known, so now the fact that he gets to do it every single game is something to be really excited about if you're a Washington fan. Stitch is no Corey in terms of personality level, and like I said, he's probably not even as good as him when it comes to overall skill level, but I think over time Justice fans will slowly but surely just fall in love with Stitch and they'll want to support him to the end of the earth. Overall though, I am very happy for Stitch as this is the first time he gets to prove himself as a full-time starter in the Overwatch League. No more does he have to worry about it not being his meta because he can't play good enough Zarya, or him just having to split playtime with somebody else in general because that's how the rotation works. It's all him now. The spotlight is only on him. But what does this mean for the Washington Justice as a whole? Well, for one, to state the obvious, there's a good chance they'll win some more games here and there now because they added in some big-time skill players. However, I'm not quite ready to say they are actual contenders just yet or they're serious threats to some of the good teams in the league since they have so many other holes they need to fill. Now, obviously, after we watch them play a little bit, my mind could change about that, but for the time being, looking at this on paper, there's still other things they need to take care of. For one, I'm still waiting on Roar to start improving because overall this year he's been pretty average, I'd say, at least in most people's eyes. He hasn't been anything special, he hasn't been the worst, but nowhere near the best. And I guess maybe JJanu could help fix that if they don't sign another main tank, like maybe Roar will have better communication with JJanu since they can speak Korean and whatnot, but I don't know if that's enough. Maybe the peel will be good enough, but right now I have my doubts. That's another issue in itself potentially, right? The communication things that went on with the Justice. I know that some of their South Korean players were pretty good with speaking English, but not everybody on that team could fully understand what everybody was saying, so that could have led to some comm issues. I'm not saying there still won't be any miscommunication issues, but having a potential full Korean lineup now that you can play JJanu over Elivolt could solve some of those problems you were dealing with everybody able to fully understand each other. That in theory could lead to some cleaner fights. So long as the synergy is there, that could help them maybe get out of like the bottom 3 in terms of the standings, or at least just how people rank them. The thing I'll be really looking at moving forward is the whole Roar and JJanu dynamic. Will JJanu be able to make Roar a better player and vice versa, I guess? I'm curious because on paper I think this tank duo could be really good if Roar realizes his potential, but that's the big if right there, you know? Maybe part of the reason Roar hasn't been able to realize his full potential is because he had to speak English and it's been really hard for him. I don't really know how the comms have been going internally while he was on the Gladiators and the Justice. For all I know, it could be an absolute mess. It is my hope that Korean comms can help improve Roar's play over time. JJanu has plenty of experience working with very aggressive main tanks over this last couple of years, so if Roar decides to become more aggressive, that might help JJanu feel more at home, or it might help Roar's play elevate as well because he can just do what he wants now since JJanu he knows will be there to matrix him if he needs any help. At the same time though, if they decide to take a less aggressive approach, that might help JJanu play even better than we've seen in the past because he doesn't have to worry so much about always being there to save his tank's life. Another concern I still have about the Justice is the support line because kind of like with Roar, both AimGod and Arc have been very mediocre this season, and if I'm going to be completely honest, they look like shells of their former selves. Overall, Arc has just been so unbelievably passive this year. Unless he's playing Baptiste, he just doesn't look like he gels together all that well with the rest of his team. When he plays Lucio, it's nothing special. When he plays Brigitte, I'm not really that impressed either. unless he's playing Mercy or Baptiste, I'm not happy with the way Arc performs. Then with Aim God, while there are some things he needs to work on, I can't even blame him all that much for being just average this season because he has to worry so much about healing up the rest of his team. His team was always feeding all the time, that's why he was always so high up on the healing leaderboard. You can't exactly work your magic with Ana sleep darts and well-timed bio nades as well as just fragging out on Zenyatta when your team is always so low on health. You can't do it. But who knows? Maybe this small Aim God issue will resolve in itself because there's better communication potentially, and there's going to be better peel as well. While I don't think everything's going to be resolved just because JJanu and Stitch joined the team, I think it's a really good start and they could help potentially solve some issues here and there. I'm really happy for the Justice. This is such a great move in the right direction, and I'm sure so many fans are going to be waking up this morning to wonderful news that really makes their day. I have to give a big shout out to the Washington Justice though, because I think they played this very smart. They used their small roster size to their advantage, and as a result, they were able to sign multiple players from that former Vancouver team. Now, I'm not really sure who was close with each other on that former Vancouver roster, but if I had to take a guess, I would say that JJanu and Stitch have a great relationship with one another, and the Justice realized this, so they maybe tried out Stitch, let's say, because they needed another hits game player, but then Stitch said, I'm only going to join if you sign one of my former teammates, and the Justice said, hey, we'll get JJanu too because we have room for him. I'm sure that made Stitch and JJanu both very happy about the situation because they have at least one person they know right off the bat, and it'll make the challenge of adjusting to a new team a lot easier for them. This move benefits all parties. JJanu and Stitch get to still play in the league, they still get paid, and they have a chance as a bonus here to become the face of the Washington Justice franchise as the superstar caliber players. Then on the side of the Justice, they get the help they so desperately needed while also giving Roar a better off-tank partner, and everybody as a whole gets a chance to just speak Korean and be more comfortable within comms. Now it's all just a matter of execution. I think all of the dominoes have aligned in favor of the Justice. Now they just need to go out there and show the world that they are a different team. Anyway, with that said, that's going to wrap up this news video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you want to keep up to date on all Overwatch League news, and don't forget to let me know what you think of JJanu and Stitch joining the Washington Justice. And as always, thanks so much for watching today's video, I really do appreciate it, and until next time, this is ATP, signing out. Peace.